Hey guys, welcome back to Anthony's Tennis Hub. My name's Anthony Hirsch. Today I've got Yannick Schramm on the podcast, also known as Schrambini, a professional coach, also a YouTuber who does live streaming matches and all other kinds of tennis content. I'll be talking with him today about the clay court swing, such as Monte Carlo and just different things like that. Also, Nadal's return in Barcelona. And just different things that have been going on in the tennis world and the start of the clay court swing. First, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here. It's nice to be guest somewhere else and not being the one that has to do all the things and has to come with questions and stuff. So I'm loving the position of just leaning back, talking tennis, and just relax. And yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. Great, sounds good. Yeah, so I'd like to start with the Monte Carlo final between Tsitsipas and Ruud and what happened there. They're actually playing Barcelona today as well. But I want to start with that final. So I felt like it was a story of two different things. I thought that Tsitsipas played a very good final, but also Ruud played a fairly poor final, I think, for his standards. I think that that's something that he will want to improve upon, especially in Barcelona and just in the clay court swing in general. I think that he's having a problem now on the mental side and in the final when he gets to the biggest stages. I felt like Steph was very good. Finding angles on clay courts is a very kind of important thing. It's not always the kind of injections of pace and hitting super big, but finding angles on the court, and it's not always hitting super deep in the court, but just finding good angles. And, I felt that's what Steph was doing. What were your thoughts overall on the final, and what were the biggest factors of it?
Oh, same as you. I mean, I was watching Tsitsipas and was amazed. I mean, he was not putting a ball in the last half year in the court, kind of. I was really not at his best and trying to get back in shape. And then somehow Monte Carlo brings out the best in him. Of course, he has won there twice now with this year. It's the third time, and he played amazing. I mean, the forehand quality, serve quality, everything was just very impressive. And it was Tsitsipas that also went to the final of the French Open when he played that way. So it's going to be interesting. We have another guy that's up there. Of course, no one was talking about him beforehand, and now he's definitely one that we have to take a deeper look into. Also the French Open, but also Olympics. I mean, it's all at Roland Garros this year, so he's one of the, I would guess, 3-4 guys that you definitely have to have on your list if you're looking into the favorites for a tournament. And he played, as you said, he played very, very good. And Casper, same as you said, he played for me very well, of course, in the semis. Was impressed by taking out Djokovic there. Was not even though Djokovic never played very well in Monte Carlo. Of course, he has won it also, but that's been some years back. The last years he went out pretty early every time, but still was well played from Casper. But then, as you said, a little bit disappointing that he couldn't held his level in the final, because then it would definitely be a very, very crazy one.
What I want to ask you guys, what did you think about this tournament for Novak? Do you think it was positive because he hadn't reached the semifinal stage since 2015, and this was, it was a loss to Casper. He had only previously lost one set to Ruud. Did you think that overall is positive or negative? And what do you think are your kind of expectations for Novak moving forward?
I mean, I think it was, of course, a good tournament because he skipped some tournaments in the US and then coming there to Monte Carlo, knowing it's not his favorite tournament. Of course, the place is amazing. I've been actually at Monte Carlo quite often in the last 3-4 years. Almost every year I was there. Of course, one of the best tournaments. I mean, that's actually the site. That's a picture that I took from the court. And this is actually, for those who don't know, this is the center court. And the court on the left and on the court on the right, they build up the big stands. So there's a grass. We can sit there. Actually, there's here the MCC letter written in like some flowers. So Monte Carlo Country Club MCC. So this is pretty nice. Also, when the tournament is not there, because right here where I was standing here, or where I took the pictures, the restaurant, kind of a little you get like some snacks. They have some outdoor places there to sit, but during the tournament, of course, it's full there. It's like a VIP area, some tents there. You can see from that perspective down to the court, like I could see here. So it's nice also to go there, even the tournament is not there. I was there for the Junior Masters under 14s, the best 8 players. Also in the under 14s, they have kind of a Masters, like the finals kind of thing. And that always takes place in Monte Carlo. So I was there because of that. But coming back to the question about, was about Djokovic, right? About the
Djokovic,
season.
yes.
And
Yeah.
I think it's positive for him because as he skipped, as I said, the American swing, getting into the clay court season, of course, it's also for him important because not only the French Open, but I think also the Olympics is something that he want to achieve, that he want to do good. And with the semifinals, even losing to Ruud, I think it was positive because Ruud, as you said, played very, very good. Also for me, surprisingly good. Also on the backhand, I mean, we could see like he was playing the normally weaker backhand that he used to have. He was really dominating some points, as you said, opening angles, playing well, and the forehand was just like Tsitsipas that week. Was outstanding, good quality, very heavy, and in the end outplayed Djokovic there. But I think it's a good start for Novak, and I expect him to do good. I mean, not sure if he's going to win the French. I don't think so, to be honest. Neither the Olympics, but he's definitely the guy that is in the semis, and that the guy that want to win Olympics or that want to win the French, they need to beat him. So that's a task that they need to accomplish. But as it's always said that you play against the big guys and it's so hard to win against them because most of the players, they don't really believe it because they've lost so many times against them. They know, of course, it's a slam. It's a 5-set match. Of course, in the Olympics, it's a different story, but in a 5-set match, it's still different. And then you have even Ruud was up 2-set. No, he was not 2 sets to love against Djokovic. It was Tsitsipas, I guess. But the respect is just too big for those players most of the times. And of course, when you serve it out against these guys, there's just a little bit more extra pressure. And now that he loses more often to these guys, to Sinner, now to Rune, he lost like the last 2 years quite often. Now Ruud also coming up there. So now I think people stepping on the court and they're like, okay, it's Novak, but it's not the guy that is untouchable for the last decades, kind of.
Yeah, I think it was probably a good showing in Monte Carlo because of his struggles to the point. I was surprised at how confident Ruud played the match. He said even afterwards he actually believed in himself the match. And I thought that was very good. Djokovic actually won more total points. Also, the second set was quite one-sided. It was like 6-1 or 6-2. So I thought that was one of the bigger factors. But in that. But yeah, I mean, Ruud was confident. He played the big points well. I agree with you on the backhand. I was, I guess, frustrated at Ruud because I felt like in the final his forehand kind of disappeared a little bit. It's kind of more aggressive forehand hitting. He was just kind of staying back against Tsitsipas. But that being said, Ruud played a great match in the semifinals. And even though it was a disappointing tournament, I thought he played some of the best tennis I've ever seen against Novak, got his biggest win. And for Novak, yeah, he'll be happy to get the semifinal showing. And I think that, Novak, at this point, I think that he's going to be excited by, getting a semifinal in Monte Carlo, then hopefully, getting a final or victory in Rome, and then hopefully showing up at Roland Garros, like you said, beating him in the best of 5 is where it's the hardest to beat him. And I not just because he's one of the all-time greats, but because I think he plays the big points so well. He's a great athlete and has such great fitness. So he's going to be really tough to outlast in a 5-set match, I think. And we'll see how he shows up there.
Sorry to interrupt you, Anthony. Do you really think he's in a good shape and has a good fitness? Because when I see him playing here and there, I feel like he's faster, out of breath, and he's like, of course, he's doing his I don't know, his overreacting on certain circumstances still. But I feel also when you look into the matches and into the changeovers and you look into his like body language, I feel sometimes that he's not in the best shape. He's a little bit tired or a little like not like it used to be, in my opinion.
I guess that's fair. I guess against De Minaur in the quarters, towards the end of the second set, he was running out of breath a little bit more. So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see how he moves forward. I guess overall in his career so far, he's been very good. And but yeah, I guess now, even though he had the 5-set comeback at the U.S. Open against Jarrah, for example, so he can still do well in some of the longer matches. But I guess it's not quite how it used to be. So yeah, I guess that's interesting. That's another factor to bring in. So one of the questions I wanted to ask, what would you say are your, let's say, top 5 contenders for Roland Garros? Where would Novak rank for you?
Probably I would say, I mean, not first. I think Sinner is definitely, even though on clay he's not playing the best, but this guy is just playing so unreal. I mean, of course, if he plays against Tsitsipas, who played an unbelievable tournament, I mean, he would be up 4-1 if that double fault would be kind of counted there. And that brings another interesting question that will ask you in a second. But of course, Sinner's up there. Then we have, I mean, I don't see Rafa being up there. Definitely Tsitsipas is up there. Casper's up there. Carlitos, we can't forget him, even though it seems like he was the guy that is the next guy that wins 20 slams, but not really like consistently bringing the results.
And do you have a top 5 ranking for it? Could you order it?
That's a good question. I mean, Carlitos, I don't know. I would definitely put him. I mean, it's a good question. I mean, he lost now also on clay early, but that does not mean much. He was injured with his ankle, and then a top 5. I would say Djokovic is on let's say number 3. I would put him on position number 3. I would maybe put Alcaraz in front of him. And then maybe Tsitsipas, but it's always the same. I mean, we see people winning a tournament, and then we believe they do good at the slam or the next tournament. I mean, we've seen like I mean, Hawkeye winning Halle, the ATP 500, and then right after going to Wimbledon, you're like, okay, this guy like kicks everyone's ass on grass, and he loses first round in Wimbledon, you know. And with his serve, his game, he's a guy that even if he does not win Halle, he should at least pass the first couple of rounds because he's seeded, you know. And so you can't really count on the tournament winner doing good in the next slams. But even though I guess Tsitsipas is a clay court player, and as is one-handed, is probably the best in my opinion right now on clay, because he can somehow deal with the high balls very well. I mean, against Djokovic and against all the players when they try to go to his backhand. Of course, he's going around a lot of his backhand. He want to play the inside out ball or inside in ball, one of the biggest weapons from him, just going around that backhand. And if he stands there, dominates with a forehand, it's very, very deadly. But really to make a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's tough. It's not easy. Do you have a clear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's hard to make a clear one. You never know about Rafa. It's hard to place Sinner and Alcaraz. I would probably go with Alcaraz for number 1 just because of how confident he seems to play on a clay court. Also, he has spoken about his motivations this year for Roland Garros and for really kind of stepping up this year at that tournament. So I'd probably be inclined to put Alcaraz on number 1. Sinner has that thing that he's quite confident. He's also adding variety in his game, which is really good for kind of the natural surfaces. This week he was really implementing the drop shot a lot, kind of the forehand inside out drop shot, which was really good over the lower part of the net. It's very it's pretty effective on a clay court. It's very high percentage on a clay court. You have tons of time to hit it. The ball isn't skidding towards you as fast as on grass or as on the fastest hard court. So, I mean, on his drop shot was quite good, and I think that he's still adding so much to his game, constantly improving. So I would put him in the top 2 spots, and then I'd put Djokovic. Then I'd put Rafa at 4, to be honest, for myself, just because I honestly think if Rafa steps up on that court, he thinks that he has a chance at winning it. And what did he say? I'm gonna die. I'm gonna give my all, and if I need to, I'm gonna die on the court. Like that's a crazy thing to say. You're like, okay, he has the motivation, and he really believes that he can do something at this tournament. And I think that's one of the biggest factors in tennis. And then I'd probably put Tsitsipas at number 5. Yeah, I think Steph is quite good, and I agree with what you said about the way he plays on clay and how it helps out his game. He has loads of time on the backhand. He can get great height on the ball that really jumps up and kind of gets above your opponent's shoulder. So the backhand is really kind of, becomes a pretty good weapon. So I like Steph on clay. That would probably be my top 5.
I'll exchange Steph on position 4, and I'll take 5 Casper Ruud, because for me, Rafa, I saw his matches right now. Of course, it's the first matches and you cannot judge it too much, but it was really hard to watch. I mean, in Australia, I really thought he played great. He was in very good shape, and I was like, wow, he's like, that's a very, very solid level for not playing a match in a year. But now on clay, I don't know. It felt weird to watch him, even though the first round also against Koboli, and Koboli also, I don't know, he was like too too nervous. I guess also played not really well. The match was not a quality match. It will take time, of course. He will have some more matches till the French Open, but it's not too long. I mean, if he has like 2-3 months, I would say okay. I'm definitely on your side that with more matches and more time to get him back in his shape, he could do big things. But right now, I just don't see it that he will kind of beat those guys that are. I mean, Ruud can, in my opinion. Of course, Rafa can also. But if I see Rafa, of course, he's number 600 in the world right now. He has to beat like these guys, like quarters, semis, and final. I mean, he plays the Djokovic in the quarters, the Sinner in the semis, and Alcaraz in the final. I don't see him winning that. Of course, Casper kind of neither, but for me, Casper, like as he showed, he can really play really big. He was in the final of the French already. Now in Monte Carlo playing a great tournament. Now in Barcelona playing a great tournament. So he's definitely the one that goes in the tournament. And if he plays Djokovic in the semis in the French, why can he not beat him? And with Rafa, I'm doubting that. So that's why I'm exchanging these spots.
Yeah, I'm always very high on Casper. So it's for me, my Rafa inclusion is kind of the thought of this man was dealing with foot injections in 2022, and he still kind of rose up when everybody was doubting him, and that's why I think above anything, he always seems to come through at this tournament. And he beat Djokovic last time in the quarterfinals. So to me, it's being very high on Rafa and his abilities, and the fact that this is only his first clay court tournament in about 2 years. So that is my thinking about it. But at the same time, I fully understand what you're saying. And also, he's not, he's going to be 38 years old at this tournament. That would be the oldest Grand Slam winner ever. If anybody could do it, then it might be a Rafa or a Novak, but it's only getting tougher. So I kind of understand both sides. If I don't include Rafa, then I feel like I've done something wrong. Honestly,
yeah, I mean, same for me. I would wish he wouldn't be. He would be the most likely winner for the French. I mean, I would probably like pay something to a charity if I know he's gonna win. He's gonna win the French. I put, I don't know, $100, and that's definitely what I'm gonna do. If he wins the French, I'm putting $100 to a charity, because that's definitely worth it if he wins it. Because he would just deserve it. But we'll see. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. It should be good. Yeah, so I also want to ask you, in terms of important events in Tsitsipas's career so far, where do you think this ranks, and how important do you think it is for him? And just kind of the last kind of layer on the question, do you think he can kind of translate this form into, other surfaces and events that might not have been as, consistently successful for him as Monte Carlo in the past? Do you think that he will be able to keep translating this form? And where do you think this ranks in terms of important events in his career?
Oh, of course, important of events. I mean, there's no doubt if you win a tournament where you get like almost $1 million in prize money, it's a huge tournament, one of the best ever. And these guys, they have apartments there because it's just such a nice place. Of course, it's an amazing importance to him, also because his mother won the tournament back like some decades ago, because it was a female tournament also there, and that makes it even more special if your mother won there, and then you come up there and it's end up being your biggest tournament. For me also, this year is more special than the other one, because as I just said, like he was out for the half year. He dropped out of the top 10. He was playing really bad. After actually he made it official that he was together with Badosa, they were kind of both like a little bit struggling, but he said like he's working his ass off. He's not giving up, and I think every player has this kind of ups and downs. With the really very good guys, you don't see too much, but if you look into the rankings, you see these guys being 20 and then dropping down to 80 and then trying to come back. Some come back stronger, and some never will come back, which is interesting to see. So I think after the first big drop, I guess for Tsitsipas, that he was really not playing well, and people were like, okay, this guy is not putting a ball in the court. Coming back strong and winning it again is very, very good. So I think that's also a little bit more special that he did it one more time, and he has lost one match in the last 5 years, and Monte Carlo, it's kind of crazy. I guess it was, and because one time it was not because of Corona. So
yeah, for sure. And now we have 2 one-handers in the top 10. So you're a professional coach. What I want to ask, what do you think of the one-handed backhand staying at the top of the game? What are your thoughts around that?
I think it's not going to be a thing. And like let's go forward. Let's say tennis stays more or less the same. I would say that in the top 100 there's maybe 5 one-handers, because you will have these double-handers dominating the game, and they're dominating it already. And okay, let's see Yannick Sinner. He's now the big hero in Italy. If there's a small kid, what does he want to do? Does he want to play a one-hander, or does he want to play a double-hander? So it all starts with that. I know a lot of players that love Roger Federer, and the dads. I know really like some very good juniors, where I would say it makes no sense that this kid plays a one-handed backhand, because he's very small. He will stay very small. And if you're like 165 or 170, like in the guys tour, a one-handed backhand, it's just not working. I mean, you see the bias, you see Schwartzman, the small guys. If they have one-handers, no chance. There's none that is playing a one-hander that is very small and very, very good. I mean, very good, saying top 100. That's kind of a miracle if that happens. So, but I see these parents and the coaches say, "Hey, I want my kid to play one hand. I want to have him like the backhand like Roger," you know. But these kind of situations will drop out, because there's no one at the top with a one-hander, and then it will continue. All the Italians, the young Italians, they want to play like the Sinner backhand, like open stance, sliding, full power, you know. And that's why I guess in like 50 years we don't see one-handers, or really, really, really few one-handers. Also, because of the positive results that you have with a double-hander compared to one-hander. It's just like a little bit, even if it's just a little bit, but it is definitely more positive things with a double-hander than with a one-hander.
And what things you're like? What things of those would you say the kind of the big backswing that you have with one-hander, not having enough time nowadays in the highest level of the game is is that kind of the big thing, having more control on the two-hander, having that extra, that extra hand there? Are those kind of a couple of the things that you think are going to keep the one-hand backhand away? Do you think there's any hope from it, or just the, kind of the very kind of basic functions of the shot make it so that it's going to be nearly impossible to stay at the top of the game?
I mean, the no time reason, whenever I hear it's no time because it's fast, just don't believe that. I hear it so often, and for me that's completely bollocks, because we see, I mean, we know these coaches that, and I did that myself. I said myself like some years ago, oh, at the net you have to have the middle grip, you have to have the continental grip, the hammer grip, because it's so fast, you have no time to change your racket. And that's what we say to kind of club players or intermediate players. And when it comes to pro, you would even say, okay, there's no chance that you can change your grip at the volley because it's too fast. Now we see in Munich a guy called Andreas Mies, who is a double-time Grand Slam winner from Germany, a friend of mine, and he's changing grips at the volley. He's changing forehand grips slightly back. He's changing his volley grips according to which side he plays, and that shows that it has not much to do with like no time at the net. And he's one of the best net players. Great reactions, unbelievable skilled, and so whenever I hear it's no time, it's just, in my opinion, just wrong and not really the right way. But coming back to double-handed backhand, for me, I mean, the first thing first, when a kid starts playing tennis, it's almost impossible to start with him a one-hander, because he's like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, let's say he's even 8 or 9. it's tough for them to play a one-hander because they don't have the stability. I mean, you can. I mean, there's some small kids that can do it, but most of them, they start with double-hander, and then eventually they change because something is wrong with a double-hander, or the different reasons why they change to the one-hander. But so if they just keep continuing double-handers and they do the right things, I think it can just be more effective. And of course, the return is always a big struggle with a one-hander. It's tough to step in a second serve, especially on faster surfaces. They go back, and it's always a weakness. I mean, my player that I'm traveling with now, he's 15 right now. He has a one-hander. He was top 8 in the under 14s, actually. So he's one of the best in the world. And he's a one-hander. Now he's struggling. I mean, in juniors, it's not like the biggest of a deal with the one-handers if you have a decent one. But then, of course, now he goes to the men's tennis. We were in the ITF in men's future tennis in Greece, where I played myself as well. I just signed up and I played myself. It was pretty fun. But there you could see, like, they're just kicking it into his backhand, and then they play serve and volley, and it's hard for him. He says he practiced it. He practiced to take it early. He goes from the back because also the one-handers, of course, they can return from 3 meters, 5 meters behind the baseline, really ripping it if the opponent comes to the net. But it's a struggle, and he's actually trying to return double-handed, and he says his double-handed return is actually not too bad, and he said to me he want to be maybe one of the first guys ever being in the top 100 and returning double-handed, and that's his only shot that he plays double-handed, because, and that's also what I say, I do believe that's definitely a point that is valid, and why not creating a double-handed return, and from then you just play one-handed. That's what I do as well, because I played double-handed in my time when I played, but then of course as a coach you start one-handing because you have always balls in your left hand, so you try and play back to backhand, and okay, I ended up now playing one-handed, but with the return it's impossible. So it takes so much time to learn how to return. Of course you need to have a good slice, and then makes things tough with the return as well.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear about. I've actually never heard of that, where a guy has one-hander but then uses double-hander to kind of, I guess, neutralize the weakness of that shot. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think the thing about the one-hander versus the two-hander is, I guess, probably the two-hander is just easier. It's just the easier shot, especially as you're kind of going up the tours. It's kind of the safer shot, but I also think it has, I think some of the best backhands on the tour are one-handers. When you watch a Wawrinka or a Gasquet, that's when a lot of people come away like, wow, their backhands are amazing. They can hit some incredible backhands. Because also, obviously, you can get some great speed off the one-hander and hit it flat. There's a lot of pros to the one-hander. But I think it's less about, like you're saying, to me, from my perspective, although there are some problems like the return is made quite difficult, it's to have control on that shot, and to harm people off that shot. But I think that for the most part, the people who can use it really, really well. It's just about the fact that it's just harder, and you have to really stick by it, and you have a better chance of getting higher up if you do use the two-hander. But the people who use the one-hander very well can use it quite well. So I'd love to see that shot around. I think it's one of the more aesthetically pleasing shots in the game. So I'd love to see it stay around. But yeah, I guess those are my kind of thoughts on the one-hander. I think that it can be used if it's used very well, like by a Stanislav Wawrinka or a Roger Federer type of player. That's
100% true. No, definitely. For me also, to watch it is great. I mean, I played myself, and the feel of the one-hander is just also much different. So if I have a perfect backhand one-handed, I love that more than the double-handed. And that's what all one-handers would say. Even the double-handers sometimes they played one-handed and they like it because it's just free. You can just swing like on your forehand. But one point that I want to point out there as well, that I feel that going forward, like let's say 50 years, 100 years, for me, there will be a lot of players with a what do you call it, biodextrous forehand, like 2 forehands on both wings.
Really?
I really believe that's gonna be a thing, because I mean right now there is none, because First of all, there is none, and that's why the kids, they don't want to be like that one, and no one has proven yet that it works. If we get one guy that make it to the top 20, then there will be a lot of players doing it as well, because right now, of course, how many are doing it? Maybe like 20 in the world, and that one of these 20 makes it to the top 100 is like, the chances is like one in what, in 5 million or what. So I mean, I saw this guy, Davidov Theo. He's
Yes, yeah.
one of the best juniors as well at the moment. I played against him with my player, and we were kind of the favorites because we were seated in a tournament in Barcelona. So we were seated, and Theo was a year younger actually. So that was impressive. I mean, Theo won in 3 sets, even though we were up like, I don't know, 5-2, I guess, in the third. But Theo made a good job, and the same topic again. People say, he will struggle with the return and the volleys and stuff. He has no time. It's just, in my opinion, bullshit what I said, because he finds his ways. He returns well on both wings. Of course, the grip change is the thing that he needs to adjust. But I talked with the dad a lot, and he says also the time is not the issue. The issue is that you need to practice much more, because he needs to practice the double amount that a normal tennis player, said the dad, because with your left arm, your right brain needs to work and needs to do the coordination, and with your right arm, your left half of the brain needs the coordination. So he's on both sides kind of needing to put the coordination things and all the adjustments in the brain, kind of in the muscle memory, with the one hand, like with the right-handed. And even if you play a right-handed one-handed backhand, it's just the left part of the brain, and with a double-handed backhand also the left part of the brain still plays a big role. So that's what he said. It's just more of a work. The same with his serve, and I completely get it. I mean, if he serves with the right hand and with the left hand, I mean, you need to practice double the amounts, because otherwise it's impossible. And he serves like from both wings, kind of everything, like good first serve, kick serve from the right, slice serve from the left. So he can do whatever he likes, and whatever the opponent does not like, and that's interesting. And I asked him, like, do you have a favorite side? Do you play left-handed forehand more likely, or what do you like more? I asked him, and he says, Yannick, it's sometimes it's daily. It's my daily form. Sometimes I feel my right-handed forehand so much better, and the other day my left-handed forehand, and then it's true. You can't really see a weakness there, and makes it tough for the opponent, because of course you just face two forehands. So whenever you're in trouble and you try to, okay, let's go to his backhand, and you're more or less safe, it doesn't exist, and that's very, very dangerous. So it's going to be interesting, and if there's more and more dads and coaches like that who would practice it, I see definitely that's a thing in some years, because I really believe that it gives you so many options. I mean, he can go around the one-handed forehand because he likes the other inside out one-handed forehand. I mean, and then you don't know what he's doing there, because you always have to expect something, and even the defensive shots are better with a forehand. So if you run into a ball that you can barely catch, with a forehand slice, you can play more dangerous, like more faster, just better than a backhand slice. With a backhand slice, when it's behind your body, almost no chance. With a forehand slice behind your body, you can still use your wrist and really pull out a great defensive shot. So there's, as I said, a lot of things. Of course, volleys is a little bit tricky, but once again, time is not the biggest issue. So that's my take on that. Let's see.
I guess that's the biggest dream for a tennis player is having two forehands, not having to worry about that backhand. It's a very flashy style. I've seen him play as well. We'll see how the game keeps evolving. I mean, I like the thought that, they're just, that kind of play doesn't exist. Somebody can introduce something and suddenly everybody else is using it. This we know. Like Alcaraz with the drop shot. I mean, everybody was using drop shot, but I guess he implemented it where it was used a lot more often. But I think that, it will be super interesting to see how that style takes off. If he doesn't have a problem with the volleys, like you're saying, where you have to change grip super fast and, you can make a mess of it. We'll see. I don't know how many, I don't know how many ambidextrous players there are that are going to be able to put in the double time, the hard work, and have the skills to kind of pull it off. But that being said, I think that if he can do it and the reaction time works, then that would be very exciting. But I guess we have to see once he gets the pros and once he has to play at this intensive level day after day, week after week. That's kind of my worry. But I would be very happy to see it. Actually, a good question that I want to ask: how do you think, if you were to predict, and you don't have to have a clear answer to this question, but I just thought interesting question. How do you see the game maybe potentially fluctuating and changing as we move forward? Do you think we're going to see a lot more guys starting to use drop shots? Do you think we could get more guys coming to the net, maybe to avoid other guys hitting drop shots, or maybe to counter a guy like Medvedev standing super far back? Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how, outside of that, maybe the game might change as we keep moving forward?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, the last years, of course, it changed already a lot. Over the last decade, it changed amazingly. I'm not sure if it will change that much anymore, if the courts will stay the same, if the balls will stay the same, the strings won't change too much, the rackets won't change too much. I mean, we're like kind of in every sport right now with the technology, we are already getting closer to the limit where we say, okay, there's not much left, right? It doesn't matter if you go to Formula One or to any other sport. I mean, go back 50 years and it's like triple as good right now, or even more. But I don't think it's gonna be hugely different in the next years, next decade. So I'm not sure about the drop shot, if that will be more of a thing. I think the fitness level and the athletes that are out there, I think that's very, very important. So that's for me the first thing that I'm looking in a junior, when I'm doing a scouting, for example. And I have done already scoutings for my Bundesliga team that I managed and I built up. And I saw Iga when she was 15, so I saw she was a great athlete. Of course, she could play great tennis, but in that time already, sliding on hard court and even on both legs, sliding as a girl was unique. And then I was sure this girl is gonna be very, very good, because when she gets to the next tennis level, the fitness will just help her with every single hour that she's on court. And that's how I said, okay, come on, come in my team. I made a contract with her, and yeah, okay, the rest of the story is known. But that just shows, like, for me, the fitness is very, very important. If there's a good striker and the fitness or the coordination is not the best, I don't believe in that player. So, and that's also my way of scouting. So to all the coaches out there and to all the parents out there, get your kid to be a all rounder and really good in physics, in physics, in how to say that, in a good shape and
Physique.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can decide later what he's going to do. But that's very, very important in all the sports right now. So get him to do athleticism, get him to do gymnastics, definitely put him in these classes, and like let him climb trees and other stuff, so that he really builds up. But yeah, really, these things you can teach them later on. So these basics need to be built when they're young. And when you scout kids, it's always interesting, because then there's like 15 kids or 20 or 30 kids in a scouting program, and I have to choose who is the best. Then you let them play tennis, you make a coordination drill, whatever. And then at the end of the day, the kids that playing the best tennis are most likely the ones that are picked from the federation and from like the academy. Say, oh, this guy's already playing very well, good job, blah, 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 blah. And the kid that is not really playing well, but is incredible in his movement and in his abilities to sprint, to slide, whatever, is probably, they say, okay, he's good in physics, but tennis wise, he needs a little bit more practice, or come back in a year. I would do it a different way, because the kids that are playing the best are the kids that played the most with the parents or already in the club. And that does not really matter. For me, matters, as I said, the movement. I would go to that scouting. I would take the kid 100%. I prefer that kid that cannot play tennis well, but has amazing abilities of sprinting, of sliding, of coordination stuff, 100%. And even if he just started like half a year ago and the other kid is already in his age group, under, let's say, under 12, number one in Germany, I will take the one with the physics, because that can't be changed later on. And if you have a good basic ability there, if he learns the tennis, then it will be just benefit him for his career, and he has a chance of really getting big. That is my opinion on it.
It's honestly super interesting. I think I think that that's something that's hugely over, not talked about enough, because people can talk about the technical side and really studying the game and how to think about which shot to utilize at which moments, and to be always on top of it and implement really good strategy and practice every day. But also, I actually agree with you. It's the training and the work blocks and the running drills, and it's playing different sports. Yannick Sinner, even he was a junior skier growing up, and now you see his incredible balance on the tennis court, the way he plays the game, even for his kind of it's very unique, the way he kind of moves so swiftly around the court, even for his, I think for his body shape and the way it works. But I mean, the way he plays is so incredible. I think that can be counted down to skiing. So I agree with you. I think that for me, I always thought that the speed, and not just the speed, but the movement, is the most important thing. It's not just the big sprints, but it's getting to one ball just a little bit quicker than your opponents, whether that's being able to slide and have that kind of explosive movement. And I think that that's something that, for example, like an Iga Swiatek is able to do, just get to the ball just a little
100%.
bit quicker, and even on the return of serve, and just, find herself in incredible positions, even out of positions that should be difficult for nearly every other player. You mentioned coaching Swiatek. I also know that you coached a player to play against Rafa Nadal at the French Open. Do you want to say a couple of good stories maybe that you have as a coach against at the top?
A couple of good stories. I mean, of course, that was unique. I mean, the player's name was Yannick Maden. He's a German guy, also from my kind of region. Grew up more or less together. He's 2 years younger than me, so I knew him, but he didn't know me, because of course he was also good in juniors, not really good, but good. Then he went to college, and then we met on the tour, on the ITF Futures Tour. We got to know each other, and he looked for a travel coach, so that's how he ended up when he was like 600 in the world. So I was traveling with him like 10, 12 weeks, being like his travel coach and supporting him. And so he played a lot of players like Medvedev. We beat Bublik, Medvedev, Sinner, of course, all when they were not really big, but when they already were top 100 players. And Deminar, and of course a lot of great matches, and played Isner in Wimbledon the year that he made the semis. Couldn't make it tough for him in it was the first round actually. Sure. in Wimbledon there. And playing Rafa, of course, at the French was the second round there. There's not much more to say than like sitting in a coach's box and playing Rafa as a coach at the French. So that was special, of course. And I was sharing the room with him in Paris, because we were good friends. And it was interesting also to get through the whole process, qualifying. We qualified against Davidovich Fokina in the qualification final round. That was 2019. Then we played Kimo Kopajans in the first round main draw against another qualifier. And Rafa played a qualifier, and then against two qualifiers. So Rafa was number one, and then three qualifiers. So Rafa had in the first round a qualifier, and then a qualifier and a qualifier played him next round. So we were already joking, okay, you play first round Rafa, or you want to play him second round, or maybe if you were drawn to the lower part, maybe you lose your against the other qualifier, and then you ain't playing Rafa. So maybe you prefer to play in the first round. And then he said, no, I want to play him in the second round. I want to win another first round first, and then I want to deserve to play against him,
Sure.
So being said, and we beat him Kopajans in 3 sets, and then playing Rafa. And then of course how everything changed in a second, like people calling, the media, and then I need, of course, as a tour coach, a travel coach, as well, also the guy that gets away all the stress from the player, that he can just focus on competing. Of course, I tried to help him out with everything I could, but it was interesting that so much things going on. And that's what we just talked before. When you play Rafa, when you play Roger, I mean, for Rafa, it's not a difference that he plays now my player in the second round of French. He knows everything what's happening. But for my player, of course, playing we played on Longland. We didn't play on Chatrier, which was beneficial for us, because two less meters that Rafa could go behind the baseline. Um, but all what comes with it, like all the media, all the press, all the calls, all the people that want to have tickets, everything, like it's just overwhelming, and you have to deal with it, and it's something you don't have every day. And so that was very interesting, and funny story. Just before we went to bed, and then he said to me, "Hey Yannick," I said, "You know what?" And then and asked him. He said, "So I said what?" And he said, "Oh man, I think I'm gonna get ass whooped tomorrow." That was kind of before we closed eyes, and I said we were both laughing. I said, "No, we try our best. Come on, we give him a battle, and let's see how far we got." So we made a plan, and another coach was also his home coach was also there. So I mean, it took a while till he got his first game. It was already like 4-love and 5-love. I guess it was 5-1 to get
Okay.
his first game. But then, of course, being on the board and feeling more comfortable and knowing what is the spin about and what is the game about, was actually a good match. In the third set, as it was 6-1, 6-2, and 6-4. We broke him twice actually in the third set. But yeah, got broken three times. It's just tough, but was a great experience for him as well as for me as a coach. So and Rafa, yeah, nothing to say that this guy is a very humble guy, very unique person. I remember from him because I was a line umpire at the ATP in Stuttgart at the Weissenhof tournament for several years, and he was one of the only guys, and I just remember him actually, that he came out of the court after winning a match, and the line umpire as us was standing in the corridor, and he was coming out and thanking us for doing our job. So he was losing or winning, he was coming there and thanking us for line umpiring, because of course you don't do it for the money. I mean, we got like 45 euros a day for line umpiring there, which is just nothing. And yeah, that just shows, and you don't expect him, like you expect it from maybe other people as well, but for him it's just like, it was just something that he always did. Also, I know a Grand Slam stringer, and he said also that when Rafa plays the tournament, whenever he lost his last match, he comes to the stringer after, and he spends like 15 to 20 minutes there, making pictures, signing stuff, and just thanking the stringers for their job. Which is like, also the stringer said no other player does it, but it's Rafa that is doing these kind of things. And he also told a story that he brought the wrong reel. So the coach brought a wrong reel to string the rackets. So he played the RPM Blast, I guess it was, from Babolat, and it was in 1.35, and Rafa played 1.30, or it was 1.30, and he plays 1.25, I guess. And then the stringer called him and said, "Rafa, it's the wrong reel. Like, what should we do?" And he said, "Okay, let me call. I'll check it." And then he came back to the stringer. The guy from Babolat came as well. So then the guy from Babylon took the full reel, and took it and threw it in the bin, next to the stringer. Kind of, there was a bin, and then he gave him the right reel, and then they were talking, and he said he could feel that Rafa was just waiting till the Babylon guy left, and as soon as that happened, 20 seconds later, he went to that bin, pulled out that full reel of string, hand it to the stringer, and says, "Hey, use it for my practice rackets, or use it for any other person, or just keep it for yourself at the end of the tournament." And then he walked away, which is just like so special, that you know that this guy, what he has on his bank account, and that he, yeah, like, I know a lot of players wouldn't care. They would say, "Okay, if he throws it away, it's stupid, but okay, I will not go to the bin and pick it out." But he did, and gave it to the stringer, and that just shows, as I said, like what a person Rafa is, and that's why it's so hard for me to hear when someone says Rafa is like kind of a bad guy. Or, I mean, you don't need to love him, or you don't need to like him. If people say, okay, he's taking time between the points is too long, that's annoying, or his grunts, or whatever, his game style, that's a different story. But as a person, if someone criticizes him, I'm like, okay, well, okay, you really don't know what you're talking. So that's
Yeah.
about the
That.
Rafa thing.
Yeah, Rafa. I mean, he seems like such a great sportsman. It's great to hear those kind of stories that show that he really is kind of that kind of person. That's always a story, I guess, that you're going to be able to have with you. The fact that you were able to coach Rafa is very cool. It must be a daunting task, though, like you said, to play Rafa. But I guess you have to come in with some sort of belief, even if it's almost a crazy belief. That's what Rafa comes with every time he enters the court anyway, kind of belief that he can win, he can come back, he does this. That's what you have to do when you're playing against these top guys. I want to ask, when you're playing against a guy, whether it's Rafa or whether it's a guy like Roger, or even if it's a guy like Davidovich Fokina, who you mentioned as well, what is your kind of process of taking a player through what they should do against a player? Do you look at videos of that player playing, maybe recent matches? Do you, get a hitting partner who plays a similar style, or do you just kind of give them a few tips? What would you say is like kind of your process, or your kind of main process when taking a player through what they should do against a certain opponent?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays it's amazing with the footage that you have already out there. I mean, I don't look at footage that is half a year ago. If there's nothing else, I will still look at it. But nowadays you can just watch the matches that he played the round before. And then I remember when he played Medvedev at that Challenger in France, I checked the first, it was quarterfinals there in Brest, I guess it was. I was not there, so I did the analysis from home. And I watched the two matches before and tried to find patterns that he uses in that tournament, because players, of course, if they use patterns, sometimes it's subconscious, sometimes it's conscious, but you can find some patterns. And for me, it was very obvious that Medvedev that time, he always went down the line when he could. So when he's a little bit in trouble, when he's moving to the ball, he was going cross court. But whenever he had time to hit the ball, it was very, very special for me watching it. It was like, wow. And again, he went down the line. So I told that my player and told him exactly that he was on both wings going for the down the line shots a lot. And then of course with the serve, he lost the serve there and this. So I have a analysis program where I spotted like how many percentage he serves out wide, and it was clearly that he served like 70%, for example, on the deuce court wide. So these kind of things I did for him, which is on the Challenger Tour not that common. That they have kind of an analyst for that. Of course, in the top 100, there's one guy in the team that exactly does what I did for my player there. And against Davidovich Fokina, of course, nobody knew him that time. Of course, now everybody knows him. But yeah, the same with Deminar and Sinner. We played these guys when they were like 60 in the world. They were good, but no one knew, okay, are they going to be very good, or are they just like staying in the 80s or 100s in the world? So
Sure.
So you just do your analysis. You watch the match if you can. So if my player played the match and they play right after, I'm going to watch the match as well, because you get a better sense if you see it live as well. And then you just go through the tactics, and of course that's the beauty of the coaching job, that you need to find ways. What is your player able to do, and what is your opponent not liking or liking, and combine these things and find stuff that will work. Being said, in the match from Rafa, of course, if you play rallies with him, it's gonna go not the best way probably for you. But my player, Yannick, also named Yannick, he's not the guy that's playing fast or big. His serve is not really good. He's just was similarities to Gilles Simon or Andy Murray, kind of these kind of guys. So very solid, not making many mistakes, very good backhand. He liked playing lefties. Of course, if it's Rafa on at the French, I'm not sure if you like it, but in general, he liked playing lefties. So we said we don't change much. We don't over risk too much, even though it feels you need to do it, because otherwise you get smashed. But we said, no, we play our game first. We try to implement a little bit more drop shots, because Rafa was really standing way far back, and we did that, which worked actually quite well. But overall, we didn't change much of the game. And then, of course, getting in the match and feeling it and seeing it, then we made little maybe adjustments. But in that case, if I would tell him, hey, you need to go for a second serve, just risk it, just go for the backhand down the line here or there, it would be a completely different game that he normally does not play, and that would probably go completely wrong. I mean, 1 out of 10, maybe you do make these shots, but at the end of the day, you're gonna just mix up your own game, and then you're completely lost. So this is kind of the process that you have to go through, and trying to find the best possible way.
I mean, that's super interesting. I'll look into it. You mentioned that you got to play Sinner. How old was Sinner at the time? Just out of curiosity.
That was 2019 as well, so 5 years ago. That was
Okay. I want to ask you, with Sinner, did you see any kind of signs that he was going to be this kind of great player? What were your thoughts of being able to see Sinner so up close when he was just, a kind of younger junior coming up? I think a lot of people always kind of talk about the pop off the balls and the speed of shot that he has off both wings, even when he was super young. I mean, he wasn't an Alcaraz type that already got to the top of the tour, top 10 very early on, but I mean, he was still very good, very early. What were your kind of thoughts about seeing Sinner from up close?
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was very, very solid, but nothing too special. So he was already the guy that was moving well. It was playing solid, good, but not something that you would say, "Oh, oof, that's amazing." And then, yeah, over the years he developed his shots. He went more deadly on both sides. Of course, the serve improved as well, and then he made it more and more every tournament and every season more and more consistent. And that's why he's up there right now, because at the end of the day, people ask me every time, like, what does a top 100 player make better? What does a top 1,000 player make better than a recreational one or an amateur? And at the end of the day, it's just a consistency. I mean, we all can hit a great ball, but we can just hit it once. I mean, maybe I can hit it twice, maybe you can hit it 3 times, but they just do it like 10 times. And if you go in the top 100, they play these quality shots of like 20 times. And that's just most of the difference, because the shot itself is not that much better. I mean, I have a good forehand. If I go with my forehand, like out there in the ITF tour, I mean, I'm now 37 years old. All the respect to all the tour players, but the forehand is still good. I mean, if I go around my backhand and have an easy forehand and I practice it more often, it will be probably pretty much the same quality as a lot of forehands out there. But I can just play it kind of once, or I make every third time I make a mistake because I frame the ball, and they just play that ball like 19 out of 20 times. And that makes just a difference. The margin of errors is just way less, and then everything a little bit more, as you said, like this sliding a little bit better. They get to the ball slightly better, then they can play a better slice that has the depth in the defensive position, that you don't end up playing the slice on the tee, that your opponent has an easy approach shot, or the slice is very low, so it's tough for your opponent. There's small things that matter at the end, and as I said, most of it is just like the consistency that is just so different. And of course, and every player has some special shots, like injection of space, pace, or the Roger slice for me was very impressive. I was also was fortunate enough to practice with him and Rod Laver. That was just before Corona hit. So in 2000, we warmed him up for the match against John Millman and against Tennis Sandgren, where he saved match points. So crazy year that Australian Open. So we lost in qualies, and then we had to play a challenger the next week. So we had some spare time. And then a coach set up a kind of a warm-up, because we were there, and said, okay, if you need someone, we are there, just call us. And he did. And so we did practice a few times, and I also attended like a practice session with him and an Italian player that I know, that he took me in a closed session that no one else kind of was able to watch. And it's different, you know, and that's what also I can take out there, that these guys, they're two different persons. When the media is on, they're different than when the media is off. So sometimes you see it, of course, he makes jokes in the lockers and stuff, but for example, he played the Italian, the name I will find it in a second. But then they played a match, so it was a match practice. They played 3 sets on Rod Laver, and I was attending that because the Italian had no coach, and I was just helping him. And then Roger was after great shots, he was kind of screaming some Italian food like names out there. So he was like hitting a great shot after a long rally, and he says, "Oh, grande mozzarella," and then. And then I was like, okay, good. Okay. And the next kind of 5 minutes later, insalata mista, because he played an unbelievable passing shot. So then, of course, in changeover, he asked him about Italian restaurants in Australia and Melbourne, whatever. So they were talking a bit here and there. But it went on like pizza fungi and everything, like all the Italian menu. So, and then I asked, and I asked also the guy that I was with, I asked him, and I asked, like, how do you treat it? And he says, yeah, it's tough. I mean, you play with Roger, you want to practice, but he's making kind of a fun practice. You're losing. It was 6-3, 6-2, 6-2 kind of the scores. But you want to focus, you want to play, but he's just in a easy loose way, making a little bit of jokes, enjoying the time. Of course, he needs to enjoy the time because he's already for 20 years on a tour. But he also said, of course, you're not going to tell Roger to stop doing it because you want to focus on your practice. So yeah, but this just, I mean, I've never seen kind of this wave for him. And the next day we were on an outside court warming up for the match, and nothing. He steps on the court, hello, just warming up, 20, 30 minutes, thank you, signing some autographs and going back in the lockers, So, and it's fun to just see him. And the day before we had a lot of fun and joked around and even with me, and he was hitting just the balls to his physio's balls, kind of, because they were standing in a circle, and then he was just dropping down the ball and flipping it into the balls of the physio, and he could save it. But just fooling around, and it's just a little bit nuts in his head, and the next day he just seemed as a completely different person. But
yeah, I guess you need a little bit of that to get as good as kind of Roger did. Yeah, shows how kind of, I guess, down to earth and kind of ridiculous and hilarious he kind of can be at some points. That's a great story. But I mean, in terms of going out to the practice court before hitting with Roger, did you what were kind of his thoughts about being able to hit with Roger, and what did you kind of tell him before the practice? I'm just very curious about, I guess, about hitting versus probably at that time the greatest, but considered the greatest player who is playing, or at least right near the top. So, and one of the best ever. So what were the thoughts like right before that?
I mean, of course, it's special. Of course, if Roger calls you and says, come on, we practice, and I want you to warm me up and stuff, of course it's special. I mean, you can't compare it to anything else, I guess. Of course, playing him in Wimbledon maybe is something you can compare, but that comes close. But before we played against Rafa at the French already, which he handled quite well, and due to his college career, I guess he really developed that mindset that he's not much worried what happens around the court. He steps on there and he has to focus on himself, because that's what you need to learn in college, because there's crazy things going around outside of the court and you need to deal with them. So he was pretty well in treating these situations, and I was not really, of course he said he was a little nervous. I mean, I was freaking nervous because I had to feed the balls to Roger. I'm standing on Rod Laver Arena having the balls, and Rod Laver is so big because, I mean, here in the club courts, you're standing 2-3 meters behind the baseline and you're feeding balls. It's fine. But then in Rod Laver, I'm standing like 6 or 8 meters behind the baseline. I need to feed the balls, and I'm like, freaking hell. If I feed too short, the ball bounces twice. If I feed too long, he needs to play a volley at the baseline. And that's embarrassing, right? So, and I needed to feed the ball, so I was nervous feeding the ball. So of course I feed it also 1 or 2 balls, not the perfect way, but then I was standing more on the side, that I was standing close to the baseline, that I could feed from the side. So this was my situation. But of course he also said he was a bit nervous. But then of course after hitting some balls, it's all good. I mean, you can play tennis. It's not a match. There's no crowd. It's just like hitting actually, and you have to zoom it out. And this was it was just more or less the first practice was just an hour, and then it's just like what Roger wants. I mean, we were not playing some points. I was just like hitting, and Roger wanted him to move a bit left, right. And then whenever Roger wanted, he just went for a winner. Or as I said, the backhand slice was just amazing, how the ball goes out of the racket and floats through the air. It's just, I mean, I was just looking, I was like, wow, okay, I would take that. But yeah, that was just like a practice for Roger. He decides what he wants, and we were anyway just waiting to go to the next tournament, and that's why we could just adjust what he wants, what he likes, what he liked.
Yeah, that's very cool. I guess just kind of a few more questions here, then I guess we can end off. But I want to ask, what is the most what's the best match you think you've watched in person? Either as a coach or just as a fan, but just curious, what's a good match that you can think of from the top of your head from traveling around tournaments that really stands out to you as was a really amazing match to get to see in person?
I mean, of course, at the slams when I was there, I mostly was with my players, so I was not really attending many matches because, of course, if you're there as a coach, you do a job for your player, and then you leave the site because you want to eat dinner with them or lunch and stuff. So I was not really watching many matches. The one that I really remember was at the Australian Open 2020 when he played John Millman. And that was the first match tie break on center court in the Rod Laver Arena after they changed the rule of the last set format. And John Millman, as we played John Millman also a year before in a quarter final at the ATP in Budapest. It was a dramatic match where rain delay, and we had to continue the next day just for the final game. So it was 5-4 in the third set, and it was rain delay, and we had to finish the next day.
Yeah.
And Millman was serving for the match. Eventually, he got there and he finished that game. But it was insane. Like the first point was like a 40-point rally, 40-shot rally, and
Sure.
yeah. But in the end, so this came as a kind of we got along well and we warmed up and stuff. So I knew John already before. And then seeing him playing Roger, of course, on Laver, I was already interested. And then the match went to the tiebreaker, and John Millman was up 7-5, I guess. So if it would be a normal tiebreak, he would have won the match. But no, it's a match tiebreak. So he went up to 10, and it was a dramatic ending. Of course, Roger won that match. That was definitely one that I watched in person and was really, really great.
Yeah.
And I watched from start to finish. I mean, to watch a match from start to finish at a slam is great because often, of course, you watch one or two sets and then you want to also see some other players. So having tickets and then got to see the whole match, and then also it's gonna be an exciting one, and finishing like with the match tiebreaker in the final set on center court, and Roger there participating. Of course, that was very special.
Yeah, I guess you were hooked in to stay for it too. So that
100%.
was good. I remember that one too. I think it was Federer's kind of last tournament before he kind of took some time off before coming back for a few tournaments. And the next year after that, he played some great matches. Also come back versus, was it Tennis Sandgren, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And
he played tennis.
round after that, yeah. Yeah, it was a great one. Down like 7-3, 8-3 in the match tiebreaker. Very good match there. And Roger is always so fun to watch.
And against tennis, I think he saved some match points as well.
Really in that moment match too.
I think against tennis, Sandgren, he saved I think 4 or 5 match points in that year.
Oh yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think it was even like 7 match points. Yeah.
Yeah, against John he didn't save match points, but against tennis he did, and that was interesting with tennis because tennis Sandgren, of course, he was more of a challenger playing guy that sometimes makes it to the ATP draw, sometimes not. And then I don't know what the connection was, but I was there with the guy from Yonex because international guy from Yonex is from Germany. And then we were sitting there, and he knew tennis quite well. And then Boris Becker was also sitting on the same table. And then tennis was already winning the second round or the third round, I guess. And then he said, yeah, it's tough right now because I need to decide if I need to play a challenger in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I have to pull out now. It's Tuesday, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know if I make good here. If I do good here, I can play an ATP tournament. But if I lose the next round, I prefer to play a challenger. So this is the thoughts that they have. Even playing slams, it's not that easy to plan because you don't know how to finish, how you will finish in the tournament. And then Boris, like he went on him and said, hey, bro, you're playing a tournament here. Focus on the fucking tournament here. Go step out there and give it your all. And take a decision for the tournament, but don't start like if and what and here whining. You're here, you're doing good, and go for the next match and try to win that match, and then get from there, and don't make too many thought process on like whether here should be, could be, would be, and tennis said okay, you're right, and then he went on beating. What was it? Was it Fornini that he beat? He beat some good guys, and he won. He was playing the tournament of his life then after. So very interesting things that happen where you're like in the players area, and you see like, of course, things like that happen, and then you see the players doing good, and it's interesting.
Yeah, that is for sure. Then just kind of last question here. So kind of a multifaceted one as well, but we see kind of Djokovic starting not necessarily to struggle to an extreme degree, but you were mentioning earlier about some of the fitness concerns, and also he's lost, two consecutive slams at his best slams. He lost Wimbledon last year to Alcaraz and Sinner at the Australian Open this year. And he's been losing more sets. He lost in just more matches he usually wouldn't be losing, like to Nardi at Indian Wells, Luca Nardi, a young Italian player.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how you see the kind of new era of tennis shaping out? What are your kind of predictions for it? And when do you think we're going to be able to label it a new era? Djokovic is still world number one, but kind of just bringing it back to modern day. What do you think? How do you see that new era kind of playing out? And do you think it's already started, or when do you think that kind of starts?
Oh, it's already started. I mean, we're already far
Okay.
in there. I mean, as you see, like with all these guys beating the Rafas, the Djokovic. I mean, Federer is gone now. For me, I mean, seeing Djokovic winning a slam. I mean, phew, probably he will, but I'm not 100% sure if he will. I mean, a year ago we said, okay, he's winning like 4 or 5 slams more. Right now, I mean, I don't think he wins the French. And if Carlitos beats him in Wimbledon last year, and Sinner was 2 sets to love up in Wimbledon against him 2 years ago. That just shows, I mean, these guys are very close already or beat him already last year. And I mean, for me, he's not a favorite to win Wimbledon, to be honest. I don't see him being the favorite. I mean, I see Sinner and Alcaraz definitely at least on the same stage and on the same level. Um, so we are already there, and the change has already kind of processed, and I don't, as I said, I don't see him winning more than I give him one more slam, maybe this year, maybe next year, but I don't think he will get more, because yeah, I mean, he can lose against Zverev in any slam. He can lose to, maybe not to Tsitsipas. I don't see that happening. But yeah, he's just vulnerable, and the other guys, of course, they are not shitting their pants right now if they step on the court against him, and that's what they did over the last years. But now they're constantly beating him. Ruud takes him out like 2 times. Sinner takes him out 3 times now. Now Ruud wins his first time, and the other players, they see it, and it's not only that they see it. That also has to do that they got better, and maybe also Djokovic got a little worse, because there are these matches where he really is off. He's not really playing well, and then the opponents, yeah, they believe in it. They play better. They have this extra some percentage that they didn't have, and additionally, as I said before, they don't shit their pants anymore. They know I'm playing this guy. They know what's happening. They know they have the feel of the ball. There's nothing new. They're not that. Of course they're nervous, and of course when they serve it out, or as Ruud said that he hoped for a double fault in the Monte Carlo, that he would win it right now, and then the double fault from Djokovic came up that he wins the match. Though he was very happy about, of course. Um, this will still come up when it gets tight, but overall, yeah, for me. Um, Djokovic will play a role, but I don't know for how long.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I guess what's clear is that I think to anybody paying attention, I think that most people would say that Jannik Sinner is the best player in the world at the moment. That he's been the
Sure.
best player this year. He's lost 2 matches. Even last year, he's won, I think 43 of his last 49 matches, something like that. Some
It's
kind of
crazy.
crazy stat like that. And I think that I think even more. I think like 45 of his last 49. So I think that at this point, it's not a question of if the young guys have stepped up to the plate. Like you said, they're no longer getting that nervous. They're being able to beat Novak, like you said, Alcaraz in the Wimbledon final, Sinner in the
Yeah.
Australian Open final, or sorry, in the Australian Open semifinal. So those guys have already broken through the doors. I guess the only kind of devil's advocate is Djokovic hasn't really been playing that strongly in Monte Carlo yet. He's still won the U.S. Open, so how will he show up in the big tournaments? Soon to come. But yeah, I mean, if we're looking at Djokovic's level right now, we're looking at Sinner and Alcaraz. You can also easily say, hey, those guys are currently playing better, or at least Sinner might be playing better at the moment. So
Mm.
I agree with you. I think that is exciting to see the young guys broken through, and it'll be interesting to see how Djokovic responds. But I don't expect him to have a huge response in the near term. I also would give him one slam. So I agree with you. I agree with you in that point. I said final question, but I want to ask just one more to kind of end this off
Sure.
really quickly. I think
Sure.
there are 4 things that are really kind of define a tennis player. And I know you play some tennis as well. You're just playing the pre-qualifying in the Heraclean tournament in Greece.
Even the qualifying, I played the second round in the qualifying. I won even a round in the qualifying event.
Nice, yeah. So I think as a tennis player, there are 4 things that kind of define a player. It's loving winning, or just any athlete. Loving winning, hating losing, loving competing, and hating competing. I think that you could also a little bit hate it a little bit. Sometimes can get in your head about it.
Yeah.
If you were to rank the 4 from how strongly you feel about those from from how they define you as a player, what would be the strongest and what would be the least strong? Loving winning, hating losing, loving competing, and hating competing as well.
So for me, always it's the positive thing. I mean, I loved Jürgen Klopp, the coach from Borussia Dortmund and now from Liverpool, that says to translate like these sentences is so tough for me. So he said like the will that you want to win must be stronger than the fear of losing. So you always have you need to want it more to win. Is much more powerful. So for me, the love to win is definitely in the top part. Also, the love of competing, and for me, I would prefer the love of competing as position number 1, the love of winning on position 2, the hate of losing on 3, and the hate of competing on 4, because it's always the path. I mean, we see all the coaches and all the parents, it's too much about winning or losing, and I'm trying to inject them. It's not about winning or losing. It's about doing your job and competing and getting out there, trying your best. And if you lose, that's part of the process. That's part of the job. I mean, also in our daily life, we lose struggles and we just get better. But we don't need a parent or a coach telling me how bad I am when I lost or how like whatever. So for me, it's always I prefer a player that's losing but really competing hard, not complaining. And after a lost match, he comes to me as a coach and says, "Hey, Yannick, my serve was not good. I want to go on the practice court. Let's do another 100 serves." This is the way that I see a player will be successful, because he sees his weakness. He sees he needs to do work. He needs to work more. And this has shown been like so many times that these guys are being the best, that show up before practice, doing some more serves, showing like standing after the practice and throwing another 500 3-pointers. I mean, these guys that are the ones that will make it, because it's just mindset and practice time and getting the shots in. So the all-time greats, they have said it, and they have said it for a reason, because it's just how it is. So this would be the ranking for the one. And by the way, I have one last question for you.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Right now, the name from the Italian guy that practiced with Roger was coming back to my mind. It was Thomas Fabiano. Was the guy that was practicing with him, that I forgot the name. The last question that I want to have, that Medvedev said once, and I just saw it now. Very weird, I just saw it now. He said that for him, the challenge should be also that after the point is done, you can challenge if the ball in the rally was out or not. What do you think about that point?
I saw him say this as well. I saw some people thinking that it was kind of crazy, but I'm going to be completely honest. I actually kind of like it. I never thought about it before he pointed it out, but the reason I like it is while you're in the point, often you don't want to be thinking about the line calls. You want to be really kind of intense in the point, kind of playing out the point. I understand the kind of bad spectacle of it that I think a lot of people were pointing out, that maybe if you play out a whole 45 shot rally and then you go back to the first shot in the rally and you say, hey, that serve was actually out. I was like, what was the point of even playing out that rally? It might take the intensity out of playing out a rally whatsoever, because you're like, okay, but what if the guy challenges after, all of this is said and done, and then it turns out it was out? It doesn't even matter. So I understand that part of it, which is definitely a negative towards it. But I think, yeah, I mean, if the shot is out, it's out. And I think that if you shouldn't worry about it. When Medvedev said it, I kind of think I agree with him. Above anything, I'm kind of happy he said it, because I like it whenever anybody kind of points out, their thoughts on what we might want to do moving forward, even if I disagree with them personally. So that was good, but I'm actually more inclined to agree with him than not, for that reason of, if the ball is out, then it's out. That's why I think we should have automatic line calling as well. That's why I think we should have also different replay technology for other parts of the game, such as double bounce, to make that clear as well. Because we're watching videos on social media and on the television screen, and they're just using, a split-second decision where they're seeing it in person just once. So I think all across the board, I think the more that we can implement the technology in different ways, I think the better. I'm inclined to agree, but I'm wondering, do you think the same, or?
100%. I mean, for me, tennis needs to change a lot, and I'm pissed on that it's not changing, like the free fan movements stuff. And I'm a little bit more of the controversial side, that I want to change more in tennis, because it's just too boring. I mean, it is for me, it is too boring, and I'm tennis enthusiast, and I'm loving the sport, but to watch, to get someone to watch a match, if they're not really crazy about tennis, it is tough. I mean, of course, we're doing these tennis coverages here, but at the end of the day, it's if there's a break in the first game, is it exciting now? Or let's say there's a double break, it's 3-love for one guy that's serving big. Okay, now we're sitting back and leaning back, and we're like, okay, let's wait, because now we're just wasting 20 minutes or 30 minutes of our time, because it's a double break and the set goes to 6. And okay, let's just wait, and then let's see the second set. So for me, also the scoring and the set formats need to change, in my opinion, to make it more interesting. Of course, it's tough to change, but every sport will change, or did change. And also this rule, it's the same with the VAR in soccer, right? If there's a goal, and then they see that it was offside like 20 seconds before, then the goal doesn't count. And for me, 100% should be the same, that the player can focus on the rally, but then after the rally can say, wait, but check the serve, please, because I thought the serve is out. But if it's out, it's out. I mean, it's not, the rally didn't affect that the ball was out, So then for me, 100%, that should be the case, because Sinner, according to the rules, Sinner was leading, it was leading 4-1, because it was break chance. Tsitsipas' second serve was clearly out, because two persons, the line umpire and the chair umpire, missed the call. Of course, Sinner could also stop the point, but it's freaking not his job of calling lines. He's in the match, he's focusing, he's playing, and he should play. But right after, if he walks up there and he says, this ball was out, give me the replay, and if the ball is out, it's a double fault, and the game is for him.
Yeah,
and the opponent will agree. I mean, they played a point. Okay, they wasted a little bit of energy, but that's fine. They can deal with it, and then they continue on 4-1. And that's 100%. They should implement that. Same with the video review. I don't understand why they don't do it. They have an iPad there. They make the decisions, and then right after the refs in the social media, they get destroyed, and how bad the refs are, how bad humans are. I mean, it's so tough. I mean, I'm very, very unhappy about people really shitstorming the refs, because if you have never sat up there and judging a match, then just shut up, because I can tell you it's freaking hard sitting up there. Of course, it's on clay. There we can see the marks, but also there, I was a line umpire in Stuttgart, and I was line umpiring just freaking one line. I was line umpiring Roger's serve. I was sitting on the serve line as well, and I judged him that time, it was 2016, I guess. And I even won a challenge against him. But at the end of the day, I also missed some calls. This is just human. I mean, you're looking and you're watching match, and then you're just daydreaming for a second, and you miss a call. It's just human, and this is also happening to the chair umpires. They cannot be there all the time. So this is just how it is, and for that reason, that should be changed.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be a change. And also, it's kind of getting the drama out of, oh, was that ball in or was that ball out? When nobody care. We want the sport to be played, I think, in the most fair way kind of possible, in a way that makes sense. So I think that tennis should be. We should get the things about tennis that are actually dramatic and exciting. And I think that isn't what makes it exciting. It just takes away from the game. So. I fully agree, and let's get the change kind of happening. I think
we'll see what's gonna change.
I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for joining. I really
Donnie, no, thanks. Was a nice talk.
It was fun to chat. Yeah, like always, please don't forget to subscribe, like all that stuff. Appreciate everybody joining in. I'll see you guys at the next one.